very, how would I say, colloquial way of saying it. I mean, years ago people would say, I feel in my kishkes. Why do you do something? I feel in my
Exactly.
kishkes. So
Exactly.
that's basically
Exactly.
it.
And another way of understanding it is through the time of when we're focusing on the Sfirot, which is between Pesach and Sfirat HaOmer and Shavuot, right? That Pesach is the matzah, which represents the Gevurah, and and Shavuot is the time of the bread, of the rising of the bread, right? So the rising of the bread again is the Chesed, because it's the rising, right? You give the yeast to you let the yeast be there for hours and hours. It will overflow over your whole kitchen, and that's the idea of Chesed, of like the overflow Chesed. And the matzah, on the other hand, you put no yeast, and what you get is just the pita, right? With like it doesn't spread. It's not
It's
like
when you do a mitzvah, and you know the expression that mostly non-Jews are using now is "pay it forward." You know,
Right.
I mean, we've been doing that for centuries. You know, the fact is that yeast, that bread, it spreads and it flows,
Exactly.
right?
So how does that connect with our mitzvahs? When I have to put some gvura into my mitzvah, let's say I'm really, really tired and I really don't want to daven, but then I throw myself to daven, right? But then I'm like mumbling it off. And at the end, I feel like it didn't do anything to me in my heart because I just mumbled it off, right? But if I start with gevura, and I'm like, okay, I really don't have any koch to do my rib now, you know? But then I start mumbling it off, and then I'm like, I really want to create an emotional connection here. I really want to talk to Hashem, right? And then I say, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to say the whole Ma'ariv. Maybe I'm just going to say half of Ma'ariv. But the few words that I'll say, I'll really say them. I'll really be in the moment. I'll really be with Hashem for those few words.
Talk to Hashem through your heart.
Right.
Don't talk to Hashem through your mind.
So how do you meditate? You know, I want to meditate so badly, but I really don't know how to meditate.
So I think the best meditation is through the davening, and then to allow to notice what thoughts come from the siddur or the tehillim that you're saying,
Okay,
and
but
be
understand something.
but be in them, be in them.
I don't know Hebrew very well, so I'm
Do it
reading
in English.
but I don't really
No, do it in
understand
English. Do it in English. Do
It's
it in
better
your
to do it
language.
in English?
Rabbis,
Do it so you
Yeah.
understand it.
yeah, everybody says today. Most rabbis I follow.
Do it in English.
Most rabbis I follow, and even rabbis in conversion systems also say today, do it in your language. Because the most important part of the davening is to understand what you're saying, not to say it. As much as we want to connect to the energetic side of the Hebrew, and as much as the Hebrew will give you much more content if you understand it than the English translation, really the English translation doesn't give you whatever, gives you a very small percentage of what the Hebrew gives you. But it's better to get what you will get out of the English or your language than basically not connecting psychologically at all to what you're saying.
I think you should take prayer by prayer.
Yeah,
Master
small.
the Shema. You know,
I'm just
most of
thinking
you
the
have a
same thing,
siddur
yeah.
that's Hebrew. I mean, a lot of us have a siddur that's Hebrew and
I
English.
have the transliteration.
So,
but
no, I'm
it's
not talking about
confusing.
transliteration. I'm talking about translation.
Yes.
If you have, don't you have a Hebrew English?
Yes,
siddur?
of
Yeah,
course.
of course. So,
All
all
of
right.
them.
So you take one prayer, start with the Shema if you want, and you do a line, and you see it in English until you really know. So then you don't have to look at it in English. You know now what that line means. Then do the second line. Now you know what it means, and before you know it, you're going to know the Hebrew too. And then you're going to start hearing the
Right.
Hebrew in secular conversation. Oh, that's in the Shema.
Right,
Oh, that's-
right, right. That's the best.
I always
So I'm
find.
curious, what did Nancy say?
Yeah, that's what
that
I want to know. I was going to ask
unfocused
her. I was going to ask her later, but privately, I want to know what the heck I said.
I don't
She'll
know.
tell me
I lost it
You
along
know,
the way.
well,
Yeah.
when you remember it, give me a call.
Yeah,
Or give me a text.
yeah,
And was
yeah.
it something positive or negative? I hope I
No,
didn't
no,
say-
it was for sure. It was just
Oh,
like, you know,
okay. I was thinking, what
did
did I
not-
say? What
you
did
know,
I
it's-
do?